what industry is a lot shadier than it seems. My dad knows a story from someone who works for a nationwide grocery chain. They have to deal with an Italian mafia to import balsamic vinegar. More people died last year over vanilla in Madagascar than cocaine in South America. They've even coined the term, vanilla murder. Farmers hire armed mercenaries to guard their crops from thieves near harvest time, and if one is caught, well, let's just say it's in response to all the farmers that were killed by thieves for the same reason. This article is a fairly light read on the subject without anything too graphic, but there's a great deal of information about it floating around, along with some pretty disturbing accounts. The maritime industry. Most of the big companies do things by the book and treat crews well because they're afraid of lawsuits and unions, but many smaller, mom-and-pop companies break laws and violate safety regulations with reckless abandon because they're not as visible and can stay under the radar, so to speak. It's very common for a small company to ask a captain crew to do something illegal and dangerous in order to increase profit, and for the captain crew to comply out of fear of losing their jobs. And that's just the U.S. maritime industry. Sailors from poorer nations who work on ships are often fed little more than rice and cheap ramen for months at a time and paid pennies for their backbreaking work. I love running tugs for a living, but the industry as a whole is rife with shady business. If it falls under maritime, but I took one look at the job listing for a cruise ship and now I tell all my coworkers to never take a job with one. I'm a stagehand and theater technician. I make decent money fresh out of college, $18.24 an hour depending on venue, even without joining the union, because I do specialized work. Looked into a lighting tech spot on a cruise ship, and I'd be getting minimum wage working 50 hours and 7 days a week. Wi-Fi on board costs money out of my paycheck. I'd be in charge of passenger safety off hours. If an alarm goes off and we have to get people onto rescue rafts, I'd have a roommate in a small bunk, and all my wages would go directly into a ship debit card so I could give my income straight back to the company to eat. Something about living and working on a boat in the middle of the ocean seems to make employers think they don't have to actually care for their employees. I can imagine working on a boat that isn't filled with people on vacation would be even worse. A lot of hobby fish importing is pretty shady. You have farms of certain types of fish like bettas in some areas of the world that are run with the fish in horrible conditions, which is why a lot of the ones you get in a major chain store are sick before you even bring them home. The stores will blame the fish being stressed, but I've ordered and received hundreds of fish from small breeders, sellers, and outside of Cory catfish that really enjoy committing suiciding by poisoning their own water. The fish arrive healthy and fine. Outside of boutique fish farming, the way some wild fish are caught is just horrible. The trappers will lightly poison the water supply to knock out the fish, then scoop them out of the water without a care for that area's ecosystem. This has led to depletion of some natural species to the point they are now endangered. Lastly, boutique fish sellers' major chains do not give half a rat's ass what happens to the fish in the end. This means that people who buy fish like plecos, bettas, goldfish, etc. end up getting sick of them and dumping them in local waterways to supposedly get rid of the problem. So in some areas, these fish have completely destroyed the local water ecology because, like other invasive land species, they were never meant to be there. One of the worst offenders is the lionfish in Florida. It's venomous and has no natural predators, so its population has exploded out of control. Eyeglasses. You have no idea the snow job they put most people through when it comes to buying them. It's far, far worse than trying to buy a new car from a dealership. Wholesale frames are about $5.20, wholesale lens blanks are another $10. Any kind of dip coating, UV, tinting, etc. is negligible cost and effort to apply, literally pennies. To top it off, they don't even do a whole lot in-house. but send it to labs, which are basically sweatshops that can take up to 2-3 weeks when labor time is literally under 5 minutes. Instead of training real opticians and technicians, they're just glorified sales staff now. Most of the time they don't even bother with proper measurement for PD, frame width, or arm fitting. Was an optician in the early 90s. I'm horrified at what the business has become. Rating services like Yelp refuse to advertise and your good reviews magically get rearranged. Hey, look, if you want to do that and be transparent, I get it. But most every business owner knows how scummy this is, and most clients just have no idea. I have a business that isn't something that would usually be looked for on Yelp. They called and I just froze. Luckily I do long-term rentals and was sold out. Explained I wouldn't have an opening for months. They seem to leave me alone. Yet they have my business on the front page of Google search, under the wrong category. I read an article a few months ago about a pizza place that Yelp tried to screw over. When rating services like Yelp first started popping up, the owner thought it was a good idea and encouraged customers to leave reviews. He would regularly check reviews. Yelp eventually reached out to make a deal. The owner didn't like the idea and turned them down. Shortly after, he discovered Yelp was taking down any and all high-rated reviews. The owner wasn't having any of it, so he started a new promotion. Any customer who leaves a 1-star review of Yelp gets half off their pizza. It became the first 1-star business on Yelp. The place got so popular that Yelp started taking down the 1-star reviews. Recruitment industry. Some examples. Fake jobs to lure candidates for registration. Piss. Trainee negotiation tactics of telling a candidate there is a better candidate who wants less, so we recommend less for you to get the job. Especially for contractors. Coveting off pitching and telling a candidate they have been sent to a line manager, but in reality they haven't been submitted because 2 others from same recruiter have already been in interviews. If they fail, you may get a chance. Lot of coded ways to put on a database info on your age, non-professional related appearance, and ethnicity. Ageism, sexism, racism is rampant in hiring. A lot more dodgy stuff behind the scenes. Source: was involved with the industry on a global level for over 15 years before I changed careers. Trucking. The margins are razor thin, and so everyone is trying to nickel and dime each other constantly. The drivers lie to their dispatchers, the dispatchers lie to the brokers lie to the clients. All of this for like $50, $100 sometimes. Cruise ships. I was told I was having a minimum of 1 day off every week and work normal hours, 8-10H/day, with a good pay and good prepaid tips. I ended up working 30 days in a row, over 400 hours, for $1,600 with tips included. This company I was working for was called Scenic Cruises. Ship was called MS Scenic Crystal, which was an Australian company working over a Swiss company going under a Maltese flag, sailing in Central Europe. That's how I understood it anyways. They deliberately did this so they could break international laws. I counted at least 5 that they broke. Biggest scam company I ever worked for. I resigned after my first month. The police boarded the ship every once in a while because they knew this, but they couldn't do shit because they had no jurisdiction over the ship. I was forced to work with a 39 Celsius fever. Pet industry. Basements, puppy mills, and dogs that are so inbred they can hardly breathe. There are plenty of ethical breeders out there, and some unlicensed breeders are ethical even if in a legal gray zone, but the conditions of some of the so-called puppy mills can be really bad. Sometimes when breeds are mixed and the pup gets the recessive genes the breeders weren't looking for, they straight up euthanize it because they know it won't sell. Not to mention how many purebreds are actually not pure at all, and sold as is. Shady. CBD, Lot of predatory companies making subpar products with questionable raw materials and then marking it way the fuck up and selling it as a miracle cure to vulnerable and ill-educated consumers. Usually have a high-power legal team on deck, but pay their workers shit and no benefits. Edit. Because so many people are asking, while I used to be in sales in the industry and have my own opinions about who's good out there, it's a woefully short list. You'll probably have your best luck checking out the top recommendations at RCBD. They have a whole pin post about best companies that they've hopefully vetted well. Worked in the mattress industry for a bit at a startup. Basically 90% bullshit. And the worst part? We had a real doctor serve an advisory role for our products. He debunked a lot of nonsense claims about mattresses like, your pillow is 50% of your spinal support that the salespeople use to sell you accessories. The salespeople would argue with him, like they knew better. Kool-Aid is strong there. Some of my favorites I learned are, these hip direct-to-door in-a-box foam bed companies like Tuft and Needle use the same material, from the same manufacturer. There's hundreds of them, just put them in different boxes and sell at wildly different prices. Side sleeper, back sleeper, and stomach sleeper is baloney. You toss and turn at night on purpose, to help prevent blood clots. No mattress will keep you from tossing and turning for the reason above. It's a natural thing you're supposed to do. More layers DOESNT mean better mattress. A lot of companies add in cheap materials like upholstery foam to just claim there's more layers. Maybe one layer of nice springs, then just 10 layers of various types of cheap foam to get the layers higher. One that actually is true is heat. If you frequently are hot at night, foam mattress is not good for you. It's an insulator and will trap your heat on your body. In general, air and spring are better beds because of heat. Your body needs to dump temperature at night to get into a full, deep sleep. If it's too hot, you won't sleep well. Medical research. The only way people can keep their jobs at a lot of the institutions with better facilities is to create a steady stream of high-impact publications. Now, research doesn't work that way. You get the supported results whenever it happens, but that's not how hiring, promotion, or tenure committees see it. This means that, in order to ensure you get enough of these desirable publications in the right period, you have to do all sorts of corner cutting. You publish before the results are well supported, you publish results that are unrepeatable, you write papers in the smallest possible units of the work so people need to wait years to see what the full results are. In the process, junior scientist careers can be made or absolutely destroyed in this system. A lucky student who gets the right project can find themselves as first author on a very high-impact paper and be set for years, but an experienced and previously successful postdoc can be ruined when they can't produce the results the senior scientists want, or just not in the right time frame. The senior scientists rarely have the time to do, or carefully look over, the actual research because they are so busy actually writing the papers and the grants needed to fund the work in the first place. If reviewers catch these issues with the papers, the authors just shop the paper to other journals until it passes and or they put up such a pitched battle with the editors they just let it pass. Sometimes the EDS feel they can't handle the pressure, sometimes are just convinced by the bombast. All of us have seen published papers that we rejected for other journals earlier because the work is poorly done or is just incorrect. To be clear, the authors really believe in their papers even when they are aware of their shortcomings, and they usually have plenty of evidence that papers just as problematic or worse have been published, so why not theirs? On top of everything, the universities and research institutions work over these findings with their press department, and by the time it makes it to journalists, the story is so distorted that it's barely related to the actual work. Bloggers digest this even further and the misperceptions have spread all over a much wider community. Even other scientists in different areas of the same field will absorb this news as truth. These are the scientists on those committees mentioned above, demanding a particular kind of result. As a result of all this, medical research is much more inefficient and expensive than it needs to be. However, scientists need jobs, grant money, and good facilities to do their work at all, and the system makes it clear what they need to do to ensure those necessities, so they oblige. Edit. I want to be clear that I am only speaking to a very specific area of scientific research here, and I do not intend to tar the whole field with the same brush. Not an industry, but higher academia is badly broken. Some of the smartest people are some of the most badly exploited. Old tenured professors limit the number of faculty many departments can have, forcing people to work as postdocs forever, effectively doing all the work the professor should be doing in the first place. Meager pay and long hours, plus constant pressure makes postdocs some of the most depressed people. The grad students are no better either. A lot of the times grad students don't complain about ill treatment, harassment and outright bullying as they don't want to jeopardize their prospects of graduating. If you're a foreigner, this situation becomes even worse, whether you're a grad student or a postdoctoral researcher.